Hey guys, and welcome to a new tutorial video in the Huey. As you can see, beautiful morning in the game, of course. I will hop in the cockpit so it's not as loud. Yeah, we will take a look at the auto rotation of the Huey. And as I said in my German tutorial, why am I doing it now after the startup? Well, I think it's pretty important because in real life, for example, when you have just one engine like the Huey, just the turbine engine with one, and it quits, you have to know how to get down safely and without falling down like a stone. So yeah, and of course in the simulator it's pretty unlikely for the turbine to quit. But in a combat scenario, for example, when a bullet thinks it wants to go through the engine and the engine doesn't want to do its job anymore, then you have to know how to get down, or you fall like a stone and crash, of course. That's the other possibility, but I think it's pretty cool if you are able to auto-rotate. And it's not that difficult in the Huey because this main rotor has a lot of energy, a lot of kinetic energy stored, and when you get to the ground you have plenty of energy to use. So sometimes when you pull up the collective too fast on the ground, it will lift the whole helicopter back up again a few meters. So that's pretty impressive. I will pull up the throttle so we can take off. We see our main and rotor RPM going up. All the other things are done. So I will take off and do a circuit, more or less. And while I'm climbing, I think I will climb to, around 2,000, 2,500 feet, just so I have enough time while auto-rotating to explain everything. I will explain while climbing, of course, but I will also talk while doing the auto-rotation. Oh, that were the doors. I hope I am still be able to do a pretty good job because I wasn't flying for a few weeks now, so I'm a little bit rusty probably. And also with my new pedals and in 2D. But yeah, okay, we will see. So we will take off. I will try to establish a hover, so don't mind. Oh, just see my pedals aren't plugged in, so that's why they aren't moving. So I'm right back. I just have to take a stick out of my USB port to put my pedals in. So, see you in a second. Alright, and there we are back again. For you, probably just a second, or not even that. And we have seen on the top right, the pedals are plugged in, so we can go. Yeah, I'm sorry if it's a bit wobbly. As I said, wasn't flying. Oh well. Wait a second, there are my axes, so you can see what I'm doing. Alright. Oh yeah, it was a long time. Alright. Yeah guys, and I was flying in real life. This weekend we had the competition on our, not airport, airfield. A gliding competition, and for the youth, so for the younger ones, for all glider pilots that are under 25 years old and that don't have their license longer than 2 years. So I got my license a week ago, so not very long, but I can call me a pilot now in real life, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I participated, of course, and we were 8 people, and yeah, I won. that wasn't my intention. I just wanted to fly, but yeah, I don't have anything against it, so yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. And yeah, like last year. So I have now 2 presents on my desk. Alright, so auto-rotating. Your engine quits, you have no thrust, no power, so everything you do is going down. But you decide on how fast you are going down, and you have to know how to do this. So imagine the helicopter's falling down, so the air pushes from down the helicopter up through the main rotor, and this airflow keeps the main rotor turning. I will try to keep my altitude here and do a few circuits so I can talk a little bit longer. And yeah, the main rotor gets rotated. So you can still control the helicopter in this state. But the most important thing you want to watch while auto-rotating or after your engine quits is the RPM. So as soon as the engine quits, you will see the engine RPM going down. Of course, it just goes out. But your task is to keep the main rotor RPM in the green, all right? And the first thing you do, as soon as the engine quits, is put your collective all the way down, because you don't want the blades to create turbulence or any resistance, all right? And when you do that, your nose will drop, so you have to pull pretty hard on the cyclic back, all right, or into the aft position. So collective down and cyclic to the aft, all right? And then you will also hear that the RPM is going up, probably, and you will counteract that by raising the collective a little bit. So there's more resistance, and the main rotor turns a little bit slower. And I just can show it to you, but you have to find out yourself. It doesn't matter if you crash the first time or the second time or third time. It doesn't matter, just practice it, get a feeling for the helicopter while auto-rotating, and someday, or after a few tries, you will get it right. Alright? So we will put out our fuel cutoff valve. So no fuel, collective down, and pull on the cyclic, as you can see. We give in a little bit right pedal because the anti-torque, the tail rotor, so the anti-torque rotor will not work because it doesn't get thrust. It turns, of course, but it doesn't counteract the torque of the main rotor very well. So we will put in a little bit right pedal. And as you can see, the engine RPM is going down, nearly 0 now, and I keep the rotor RPM in the green. I have my cyclic in one position, my collective in one position. We keep 80 knots. That's okay. I think we will end up on the runway. I will slow the helicopter a little bit down. As soon as I do that, the RPM gets higher, so I pull a little bit collective, right? And then as it gets slower, I will lower the collective, but pull a little bit on the cyclic, because lowering the collective will result in a nose drop, okay? Of course, when you drop the collective completely, the nose will fall down very quickly. When you do little adjustments, you also just need to do little adjustments on the cyclic. Okay. So a little bit slow here. There are a few methods of auto-rotating. Alright, we want to have the version with around 60 to 80 knots here. Still a little bit slow, doesn't matter. Okay, and as soon as you get to the ground, you will pull up, brake the helicopter, and pull on the collective and set it down on the curbs. Yes, okay. Alright. And then, first thing, invert off, throttle to idle, starter or to starter, fuel pump on, warning off, alright, and put it on again. So this was the fast version of an auto rotation, and that's probably the most used one when practicing. So I also have to say there are two possibilities. You can close the cutoff valve like I did. That's that's a little bit more difficult than the other method. The other method is by just turning your throttle to idle. Alright, that's a little bit softer, and for learning it's probably a little bit better because you still have a little bit of power, so it's not as brutal as cutting your fuel. But I am cutting my fuel because I know how to auto rotate, and with time moving on, it's just more fun to do that because that's a one-way ticket. As soon as you close the cutoff valve, you have to get on the ground, and that's like a real engine out case. Okay, so that's why I do that. But you have to decide which version you want to choose. Okay, so not collective, throttle up. Okay. Yeah, so that was a fast version of the auto rotation, 60 to 80 knots. And you also have to keep in mind you want to flare earlier than normal, okay? You want to flare, I don't know, 10 meters, 15 meters above the ground, because you have to flare pretty steep. So you have to pull the nose back pretty hard. And you need that height so you don't have a tail strike, so you don't touch the back of the aircraft, of the helicopter, on the ground and probably break something, break your back, the tail off, or the tail rotor or something. Okay. So I will also demonstrate another version. All right, and that's a slow one. Okay. So the slow one I do between 20 and 30 knots. Alright, and when you get more experienced with auto rotations, you will find it more and more easily to choose your landing field, and you will be able to land in a tighter and tighter spot. Okay, so at first, when you're practicing it for the first time, you just want to take a runway, get to a certain height, probably put the throttle to idle or the cutoff valve as your preferences are, okay? And then you want wait a second. Just had something in my mind here. I have to pause for a second. Alright, everything's fine. I just got in my mind that I hadn't connected my microphone, but everything's okay. So let's continue. So with the time moving on and the more experience you get, try, you will be able to land in tighter spots. So for example, somewhere down here or something like that, and maybe somewhere down here, and maybe on a roof at a certain point of experience. Okay. So, and you're doing that by choosing the right speed. Okay, so when you're slower, you can adjust your glide path, and with the speed you can adjust your glide path. Okay, so we will climb to around 3,000 feet or something again. Alright, there's a runway. I will put it out here already, so close that. Collective down and pull the cyclic off. Rotor RPM gets high, so a little bit more collective, and then keep your rotor RPM in the green by adjusting collective and cyclic. Right, so we wanted it slower. Alright, there we have 35 knots. Okay. 30 knots are here. 25. It's a little bit difficult to keep your speeds at the lower range of your speedometer. Oh yeah, 30 knots, okay. Right, that looks good. And with that method, you don't have to flare that hard because you're already slow, okay? So when you are slow, you just need to raise your collective as soon as you get near to the ground. You also have to keep in mind that you can get in a vortex ring state, of course. So don't auto-rotate straight down, alright? Keep your airspeed. Don't get below 20 knots because that's a critical stage, alright? And pull your collective up and up and up and on the skids. Okay. Still had a half a meter left down on the ground, but it was okay. So inverter off, start a standby. Okay. That and start the helicopter again. Alright, that was the slow version. And by doing that, you will get to the place you want to get. Alright? And you can still fly turns. Don't make them too steep. That can get critical pretty fast if you're not experienced with steep turns in auto rotations. So slowly discover the limits of the helicopter in an auto rotation practice, okay? So just practice. Do it sometimes. I prefer to, when I fly somewhere over a city or something, or in your case maybe over an open field, just close your throttle or cut off your fuel valve, your fuel cutoff switch. Just cut it off and auto rotate to the ground, start the helicopter again, and keep on flying. Alright? So by that, practice it from time to time and you will see you will get better pretty fast. So there are two more versions left. The first one is auto rotation from the hover. And the second one is auto rotation from low level flying with higher speeds, okay? So we will begin with the hover. So in a hover you have a certain point where you can't get the aircraft down safe on the ground. So when you're too high in a hover, there's a death zone, okay? So I'd say, well, let's say 30, 35, 40 meters to maybe 200 meters. In this range, you will probably damage your aircraft or die, alright? Because when you're under 200 meters and you have an engine failure and put your collective down, you will drop really fast and you don't have the height, the necessary height to gain airspeed to control the rotor RPM. You don't have the time and height for that, so you will probably crash into the ground. And when you try to get down directly without airspeed, you will probably end up in a vortex ring state, okay? So we will do it from a, I don't know, 5 meter hover or something, just to demonstrate. Right. A little bit higher, up here, and I will close the cutoff valve. And when you paid attention, wait a second, when you paid attention to my axes, you would have seen that I didn't lower my collector. And the reason for that is because I'm too low. When I drop the collective, the helicopter will fall down like a stone. Okay? So when you're in a hover, and oh, that's a problem. The battery has difficulties by spooling up the engine, but it's working this time. Okay. You're too low, as I said, and you will drop like stone. Okay. So what you will do is, when you're in a hover and your engine quits, keep the collective where it is. In a hover, it's never at full power, alright? You have some reserves there. Keep it where it is, and as soon as you get to 1 meter, 2 meters to the ground, raise it slowly, alright? Raise it enough to slow your fall and gently put it on the skids. Also needs practice, that's of course, but that's how you do it. Alright, now to the last one, the auto-rotation out of fast low-level flying. That's probably the most difficult one, because you're low. The engine, and as soon as the engine quits, your helicopter will turn a little bit because of the torque loss of the main rotor. I hope it's called like that. Alright, I will just fly over there and make a turn so we don't look directly into the sun. So you just can see better how it's done. Okay. Sorry. So, we will turn now onto the runway and we will do a low-level flight with around 90 to 100 knots in 1 to 3 meters probably, and then I will cut off my my fuel. Alright, not 3 meters, that's probably too low. And I will do it now. Alright, see? No, I will explain it in a second. Alright. Okay, great. Very nice. So, what I have done is the following. It's the same procedure as an auto rotation from a higher altitude, okay? So as soon as the engine quits and you're in low level flying, you will you will take the cyclic to the aft position, so you gain a little bit of height. You will lower your collective to the fully down position, so the main rotor doesn't get much resistance, okay? So it turns better. And when you're very close to the ground, don't pull the cyclic too fast, because when you do that, your tail will probably hit the ground and get destroyed. So you will win nothing with that. It will probably damage your tail rotor. Yeah. All right. So okay. And yeah, you will get the helicopter away from the ground, collective down, and then you're in the flare phase, okay? It's a direct transition to the flare phase of auto rotation from higher altitude. So you want to play with your collective and your cyclic, still keep the nose up to brake the helicopter, to slow it down, and then put the nose down as soon as you're slow enough, and raise the collective and slowly get closer to the ground so you can get to a halt on the skids, maybe sliding. When you do that against the wind, sometimes you make a perfect landing without sliding on the skids, but mostly you will slide a helicopter, okay? So yeah. I will just fly to my starting point, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something. It was probably a little bit longer video than usual, but auto rotation isn't the easiest thing, and the most other YouTubers that do DCS tutorials don't just explain the auto rotation from a higher altitude, but that's not the only situation where it can happen. So I thought to myself, why do not every version, all circumstances where it can happen to you? So auto rotation high altitude with fast auto rotation and slow auto rotation from a hover and from low level flying. So the most important things where you have to know how to do it when it happens to you. Alright, so I hope you liked that and learned something. And if you want to learn it, as I said, if you crash, doesn't matter, just try over and over again until you get it right. So I hope you learned something, I hope you understood it, and we see us at the next tutorial. Until then, have a good one and bye bye.